Hello there. Welcome to Lena's Lane. In this episode of Case Files, I'll be sharing with you the case of Craig Price. So make sure you stay tuned for more. The youngest serial killer in United States history, Craig Price, was born October 11, 1973 in Warwick, Rhode Island. In a seemingly normal suburban neighborhood, his parents, John and Shirley Price, were blue-collar workers. They lived in a small ranch house in the Buttonwood section of town. Price was described as a vivacious, good-humored, wisecracking kid, one who was bright and athletic. Standing 5 foot 10 inches and 240 pounds, a brawny teenage football player with a baby face and an appealing smile, generally well liked by his peers, and made good grades in school. However, it is reported at the age of 9, Price began having disturbing thoughts about death and murder. He also had an existing criminal history for petty theft. Most of the crimes were committed with family members. Sometime later, he joined a gang and started burglarizing houses with them. The night of July 27, 1987, 13-year-old Price broke into his neighbor's home that lived only 2 houses away from his own home. He got a packing knife out of the kitchen and stabbed 27-year-old mother of 2, Rebecca Spencer, 58 times, unaliving her. The brutality of the murder shocked the entire neighborhood, but despite efforts to find Spencer's murderer, her case went cold. 2 years later, Price, now a 15-year-old high school freshman, attacked his next victims. On September 1, 1989, while high on marijuana and LSD, Price broke into another neighbor's home in his neighborhood. It is reported his only intentions were just to rob the home. While roaming around inside, he encountered the mother, Joan Heaton. In a fit of panic, Price beat and strangled her. Her screams woke her daughters, Jennifer, who was 10 years old, and Melissa, who was 7. Just as the time before, Price took knives from the kitchen that Heaton purchased earlier that day and stabbed her 57 times. After witnessing their mother's death in the kitchen, he stabbed Jennifer 62 times and Melissa 30 times, also crushing her skull with a stool. The attacks were so brutal that the handles broke off the knives he used, with the blades staying inside the bodies of the victims, including a knife blade lodged inside of the neck of Jennifer. Once the news spread throughout the neighborhood, it left Buttonwoods mortified. Police combed the streets and neighbors padlocked their doors. During the Heaton attack, Prince cut his hand, leaving behind a bloody handprint at the scene of the crime. Police had become suspicious of him after he lied about the deep gash in his finger. They were aware from the crime scene that the perpetrator cut himself and left behind a bloody sock print that matched Prince's size 13 feet. That prompted investigators to focus on local teens in the neighborhood. 15-year-old Price became a suspect due to his close proximity to the crime scene and his criminal history. On September 5, 1989, 2 detectives interrogated Price and inquired about the cut on his hand. After failing a lie detector test, a search warrant was granted. In searching his home, police found the bloody knives and clothing in his backyard shed. At the police station, Price calmly confessed to the murders, while his mother sat sobbing softly beside him. It is reported Price had no remorse when confessing to the crimes, going so far as to mimicking the sounds of the little girls he had murdered. He admitted to committing the murders out of anger and claimed to have been influenced by violent fantasies and the desire to experience the act of unaliving people. Due to Price's age, he was tried as a juvenile. Under Rhode Island law at the time, juvenile offenders could not be held beyond their 21st birthday, regardless of the severity of their crimes, which meant Price was set to be released in 1994. On the advice of his court-appointed lawyer, Price refused a court order to undergo further psychological testing, fearing the results would be used to commit him for life. His refusals allowed Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Pine's office to file contempt of court charges. When Price flew into a rage and threatened to snuff out a correctional officer, Pine took that opportunity to file extortion charges. Price was sent to Rhode Island Training School, a juvenile correctional institution. He was placed in the maximum security wing, where he was to be held for 5 years, ending on his 21st birthday. While there, Price racked up good behavior, spending his time completing his high school equivalency test and taking satellite college courses. His good behavior was reportedly rewarded by approving him to counsel other residents in the facility and perform minor security duties. Price's special treatment at the correctional center sparked outrage from the public. The prospect of Price's release alarmed the community and prompted a public outcry. Lawmakers and victims' families pushed for changes in the law to prevent Price from being released. Their efforts led to the passage of a bill that gave the Attorney General's office the power to commit a mentally ill person to a mental health institution if he or she posed a threat to society. On October 3, 1994, Price was set for trial for simple assault and extortion after he threatened to snuff out a correctional center employee. Price had a new lawyer, respected civil rights advocate Robert Mann. In court, Mann accused the Attorney General's office of twisting the laws to selectively prosecute his client. During cross-examination by the prosecution, Price burst into a fit of rage and claimed everyone was lying to keep him locked up, concluding the trial. He was eventually sentenced to 15 years, 7 to be served, and 8 suspended. Price spent his 21st birthday in the adult correctional institution. For more than a decade, the state continued to find ways to charge Price, such as criminal contempt charges from Price's earlier refusal to submit to psychiatric testing went forward, and brought a 1-year sentence, even though, on the advice of Mann, Price had since agreed to the tests. Fights in prison led to assault charges. The state even took the unusual step of charging Price with violation of probation while he was in prison. Every conviction added more time. In 2004, he was transferred from Rhode Island to Florida to serve his time due to his violent tendencies. An officer from the Rhode Island Department of Corrections said Price has been booked twice for fighting since leaving the adult correctional institution in Cranston. Therefore, Price was denied parole in March 2009, and his release date was set for May 2020. In Florida on July 29, 2009, Price was involved in a prison fight with another inmate. While trying to break up the fight, one of the correctional officers was stabbed in the finger by a handmade weapon in Price's possession. In the wake of the prison fight, Price was transferred to another facility. And on April 4, 2017, Price was accused of stabbing fellow inmate Joshua Davis at the Swanee Correctional Institution in Live Oak, Florida, with a 5-inch handmade weapon. Documents indicated that Price entered Davis's cell and reportedly stabbed him. Davis fled, but Price tackled him and continued the attack. Authorities say the premeditated assault was caught on video and that Price intended to inflict mortal wounds. Therefore, on January 18, 2019, Price was sentenced to 25 years for the crime. Several appeals went to the state Supreme Court, and each of his appeals were denied. Mann wasn't the only one who questioned the lengths to which the state went. Mental health advocates had bitterly opposed the law allowing courts to consider criminal records in contempt proceedings. The American Civil Liberties Union criticized the state's tactics. Price appeared before Chief District Court Judge Albert DeRabio after a jury convicted him of criminal contempt. 3 years earlier, DeRabio had sentenced Price to 1 year for the same charge, believing it was the maximum he could impose. Subsequently, the Supreme Court ruled that judges had unlimited sentencing power in such cases. Contempt charges usually result in a fine, not jail time. Yet the state was begging DeRabio to put Price away for life. DeRabio is quoted saying, "I did not feel I could, in conscience, sentence him to life on a contempt charge." And so, DeRabio gave Price 25 years, 10 to serve, and the remaining 15 years if Price got into trouble or refused treatment. Furthermore, DeRabio states, "I felt that to put him on hold for 25 years would be to put a hold on many, many things, and maybe in that time, some form of treatment could be found." Price responded by saying, "The state was effectively organized not to rehabilitate me, but to incarcerate me." Price is now 51 years old and still incarcerated. That was the case of Craig Price. Down in the comment section, let me know whether or not you heard of this case. What were your thoughts? Let's talk about it. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.